Robert Fickler McLean, welcome. WYLCONE.com. We're talking about the subjunctive, a mood, not a tense, a mood that is used very much, quite frequently, quite often in Spanish. It's used a lot in English, but it's invisible because the structure of the sentence doesn't change. The only reason you know the future is the future, well, the meaning of the sentence, but the structure also changes. So I can tell the future without even doing a sentence in English because I have will or going to. So talk, I talk to my mother is the present indicative because I'm just stating what I do with my mother, right? And if I want to change the tense and I want to make it, in English, it makes it very clear. I will, the minute I see will, I know that I'm talking about the future. Now, will has other meanings too, but in general, you're talking about the future. I talked, that ED is telling me that it's a past, it's the past. So I talked to my mother, right? Not today, or maybe not now, but yesterday or in the morning or last night. But that ED tells me that it's past. Why? Because it's visible. The structure, the actual structure changes, right? But if the structure doesn't change, then you have to actually really understand the sentence to know that it's not in this mood or not in this tense, but in a different mood, in a different tense. And in Spanish, very clear, the subjunctive is very clear. The very structure of the verb changes, right? In the present subjunctive, an AR verb takes ER endings. So when you see the verb, for example, hablar, and then you see it with an ER ending, it's a subjunctive, or it's a command, because it can also be the command. When you see the ER verb with an AR ending, such as the verb comer, and you see it comas, it's either the subjunctive or it's a command. Now you have to, see the sentence, but it's visible to you. Now, the word cuando is when. We use cuando in English as well as in Spanish in two very general ways. Okay, three maybe. And I just said when. When you are talking about something that you normally do, when it rains, I always carry my umbrella. So you're telling me this is your normal habitual activity. So when it rains, I always carry the umbrella. When the doorbell rings, I never answer. Okay, when the doorbell rings, I never answer. This is what you normally do. Or you can talk about cuando in the past. When I got home yesterday, I fixed myself food, something, or I cooked food. So you're either talking about something that you normally do. When it rains, I carry an umbrella, or what you did yesterday. When I got home, I fixed myself a meal, right? Okay, but there's another cuando. There's another cuando that is not telling me a fact, but it's called the potential future. Now I have to first explain it in English, and you'll see in English it's invisible. The subjunctive is invisible. And if I put it with the he, she in it, and I put in the subjunctive, most people, 99% of people are going to say, well, that's wrong. And then, you can't always explain, no, that's a subjunctive, let me explain. You just put it in the indicative and you let it go. But you understand it's a subjunctive. So let's talk about, not in general, the when, but today. So we're talking about today. So when I get home, I'm talking about today. When I get home, comma, I'm going to take a shower. I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about what I normally do when I get home, but I'm talking about today when I get home. That when I get home is called the potential future. We don't do that. I don't even know if we can tell the difference, unless it's pointed out to us that normally when I arrive home, I take a shower, versus today, when I get home, I'm gonna take a shower. The structure remains the same for when I get home. And I'm putting normally or today because I want you to distinguish between something that generally happens, and I'm using when, and versus something I'm talking about today. But you don't really need the words normally and today. Not in Spanish, you don't. And in English, you don't, because we don't change the structure. Okay, so if I'm talking about today, when I arrive, okay, at the airport, I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about when I normally arrive at the airport. I'm talking about today, when I arrive at the airport. Okay, I'll give you a call. When you're talking about, not when it's normal, general, what you habitually do, but when you're talking about today when I arrive at the airport, or tomorrow when you call me. Not in general when you call me, but tomorrow when you call me. So you have when plus the subject, the verb when it's the potential future, it's in the subjunctive. But you have to know whether you're talking about when in general. When I get to the airport, I normally call my mother. Now, one way to recognize it in English is that the clause not with the when, that's a dependent clause, when I arrive at the airport. Okay, when I arrive at the airport, comma, I will call you. The verb in the second clause, the independent clause, is in the future. Now, it can be in the simple future, I will call you, or when I arrive at the airport, I'm going to give you a call. Or it can be in the idiomatic future, to be going to. And by the way, the subject doesn't have to change. You can be talking about yourself. So when I arrive at the airport, comma, I will call you. If the second clause is in the future, and the first clause is talking about a particular action in the present, but it's like a potential future, the when plus the verb plus the subject, and that verb, it will be in the subjunctive. It's called an uncompleted action or pending subordinate clause. I found a better word, the future, potential future. I'll eat, we're talking about now, so I'm talking to you and I'll say to you, I will eat when he returns. I'm not talking about what I normally do. I'm not saying normally speaking, I eat when he returns, because if you notice, if I talk about what I normally do, both are in the present tense in English. Both are in the present tense. But when I'm talking about, I'll eat, talking about today, so I'll eat when John returns. When John returns is the subjunctive clause. It's the dependent clause, and the returns is subjunctive. So I should say in English, at one time I would have said in English, I'll eat when he returned, but I don't. I just put the S there, and it looks like the indicative. Comeré, that's I will eat, comeré, or voy a comer, I'm going to eat. Normally you use the will though, this one. Comeré or voy a comer cuando regrese, not regresa, regrese. That's called the potential future. I won't eat unless he returns. So it's not with the when now, but okay, but it's still playing the same role. I won't eat. So I'm talking about the present now. I won't eat. No comeré. Or no voy a comer. A no ser, a menos que, a no ser, we can, which means unless, okay? Or a menos que regrese. That's the subjunctive. See, in this one, you have to understand the sentence. One way in English that you have a hint that the one when it's normal and habitual, or it's the past. No, normal and habitual, versus you're talking about, in a sense, the present, or it's called the potential future, is that the when clause is in English is in the present indicative. So if you start with the when he returns, comma, the independent clause, if you're talking about it in the present, right? The independent clause is in the future. So when he returns, cuando regrese, comeré, I will eat. Now, when you turn it around and you say, I'll eat when he returns, if you have when he returns as the second clause, it's still the dependent clause, but you just have it the other way around. You don't put a comma. But if you start with the when he returns, then you put a comma. I don't know if that's clear or not. I hope it's clear. What you need to do with these type of sentences is to practice and to practice and to practice and to practice and to practice. Here, the subject can be the same in both clauses. Can be the same. But remember, you're only using the subjunctive with cuando, when cuando is the potential future. But if you're talking about what you normally do, you know, normally I eat when he returns. That's not the subjunctive, because it's not the same kind of sentence. Okay. I remember with my students, I would say, now I'm gonna give you a couple sentences with when, and I want you to tell me, do they all mean the same thing? They could pick it out. They could pick it out. When we would analyze the sentence, and I said, what role is when playing here versus when is playing here? Can you tell me why the independent clause here is in the future versus the independent clause here is in the present? You know, they could pick it out. The problem was making that transition to Now in Spanish, you use a different mood. The tense is the same. It's the present, but it's not the present indicative. It's the present subjunctive. Once again, if this is confusing, don't worry about it. Like I said, I made the first shot over the bow. I'm letting you know about the subjunctive and all the different ways it's used in Spanish. All the different ways it's used in Spanish. Let me see something. I want to go to the next card. No, I'm going to leave this standing by itself. So to practice, it would be good if you're really interested in the subjunctive, if you want to learn Spanish, you should be, you must be interested, because it's a verb tense that you have to use. I mean, verb mood that you have to learn. Go to cuando, put in the search engine, cuando, C-U-A-N-D-O, or menos, a menos, and it's right there, a, and then N-A-A-N-A-O-S-A-M-E-N-O-S, plus the plus sign, subjunctive, and it'll give you example after example after example of sentences when you're using cuando, unless there's a couple other words and they are used with the subjunctive. And practice, and practice, and practice. In the beginning, it's going to seem very artificial. I remember when I was at Penn, I had these twins I was trying to teach the subjunctive to, and they really, really wanted to learn. This is when I was a graduate student, and they really, 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 really wanted to learn, but they didn't get it. Whenever they saw quando, they said, okay, it's a subjunctive. I said, no, it's not like that. You can't memorize this. You have to understand this. And then I would try to have them, now look at this. You see when cuando means this versus when cuando means this. Look at the two different sentences. You're using cuando, but can't you see that the structure of the two different sentences? I think at the end they got it. And they were identical twins. I mean, I could not tell one from the other. Very good students. This is at University of Pennsylvania. Very good students, and I was tutoring Spanish. I did a little French too, a little bit, right? More the I definitely didn't do pronunciation. I did grammar. I definitely didn't do pronunciation, and I did very basic, very basic French. Okay, so Coralla Ficklin McLean, welcome WYLCOME.com. We are talking about the subjunctive versus the indicative mood. I'm taking it bite by bite. You know, I'm taking my time. Here, I'm only using one card. I'm not even, I think one, let me see, one, yeah. I'm not even using, yep. I'm not even going to use, yeah. I'm just using one card here, looking at one card. The next card is another reason why you use a subjunctive, okay? Because this mood you really have to understand, and English doesn't help you. This time you don't have anything to hold on to. Not like in Spanish with other things where English can help you. So Coralla Ficklin, welcome. Thank you. You have a good day. I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.